Jimmy Page, the towering figure of rock and the creative nucleus of Led Zeppelin, has spent decades crafting music that transcends the boundaries of sound and time. His work, a meticulous balance of ferocity and finesse, has not only inspired countless musicians, but also redefined what it means to be an artist. In a rare moment of reflection during a 1975 interview with Rolling Stone, Page opened a window into his artistic influences, revealing a deep admiration for the American band Little Feat, a revelation that underscores his appreciation for unrestrained creativity and raw talent. In the interview, Page spoke at length about guitarists and bands he revered, weaving a tapestry of names that spanned genres and generations. Among his praises were mentions of Clarence White, whose control and style Page described as absolutely brilliant. And Amos Garrett, whom he admired for his approach. But it was his casual but emphatic declaration of Little Feat as his favorite American group that captured the imagination of music aficionados. For a man of Page's stature to single out a relatively niche band spoke volumes about Little Feat's significance. Little Feat was formed in 1969 in Los Angeles by Lowell George and Bill Payne, two musicians whose ambition was matched only by their versatility. George, a former member of Frank Zappa's Mothers of Invention, brought a quirky, genre-defying sensibility to the band. His slide guitar work, as distinctive as Page's own riffs, could evoke a range of emotions, from soulful melancholy to playful exuberance. Payne, a keyboard virtuoso, added layers of complexity to their sound, fusing elements of blues, rock, funk, jazz, and country. Together, they created a musical stew that defied categorization, a quality that undoubtedly appealed to Page, who once remarked, "I believe every guitar player inherently has something unique about their playing. They just have to identify what makes them different and develop it." In many ways, Little Feat's ethos mirrored Led Zeppelin's own. Both bands thrived on blending disparate musical styles, pushing against the constraints of genre and expectation. Little Feat's tracks like Dixie Chicken and Willin' demonstrated their ability to seamlessly fuse New Orleans funk with southern rock and folk sensibilities. For Page, who had crafted everything from the blues-infused riffs of Whole Lotta Love to the mystical acoustics of the Battle of Evermore, this eclecticism must have felt like a kindred spirit at work. Page's praise for Little Feat wasn't limited to their sound. He admired their relentless pursuit of innovation, their willingness to experiment even when it came at the expense of commercial viability. In the Rolling Stone interview, Page lamented the homogenization of popular music, expressing a deep appreciation for those who dared to be different. "Out of all the guitarists to come out of the 60s, he observed, Beck, Clapton, Lee, Townsend and I are still having a go. That says something." By including Little Feat in this context, Page aligned them with this cadre of innovators who shaped the musical landscape. Lowell George's contributions to Little Feat cannot be overstated. His songwriting, which often blended humor with poignant storytelling, was as distinctive as his slide guitar technique. Tracks like Sailin' Shoes and Rock and Roll Doctor showcased his ability to craft music that was both complex and accessible. Yet George was also a man of contradictions. a perfectionist who sometimes struggled with responsibility, a visionary whose creativity could be both a blessing and a burden. Page likely saw in George a reflection of his own struggles with the weight of genius and the demands of leadership. Little Feat's live performances were another aspect that likely resonated with Page. Known for their improvisational prowess and tight musicianship, the band created an atmosphere that was both electrifying and intimate. Much like Zeppelin's own legendary concerts, Little Feat's shows were not mere recitals, but dynamic, evolving experiences. Paul Barrère, who joined the band in 1972, once described George's approach to crafting music as chaotic but brilliant, recalling how George would splice tape recordings into unconventional rhythms and hand them over to bandmates with the instruction, "Normalize this." Despite their artistic brilliance, Little Feat struggled to achieve the same commercial success as some of their contemporaries. Internal conflicts, exacerbated by George's self-destructive tendencies and heavy drug use, often undermined their progress. George's untimely death in 1979 marked the end of the band's most fertile era, leaving behind a legacy that was both celebrated and bittersweet. He was fine for a while, but he didn't have the capacity or the sense of responsibility, Bill Payne once said of George. He'd do silly things like lose master tapes. For Page, the lack of mainstream recognition for Little Feat likely added to their appeal. As someone who had navigated the heights of fame while maintaining an uncompromising artistic vision, he would have appreciated the purity of their work. The fact that they created not for accolades, but for the sheer joy of making music. It's this quality that Page admired most about the artists he praised in the interview, from Hendrix to Amos Garrett to Little Feat, their ability to transcend the superficial and tap into something timeless. In reflecting on his influences, Page's endorsement of Little Feat is more than a passing remark. It's a testament to their artistry and impact. For a band that never quite broke into the upper echelons of rock stardom, being named Page's favorite American group is a crowning achievement, a reminder that true greatness isn't always measured in record sales or chart positions. Little Feat may not have filled stadiums like Led Zeppelin, but in the eyes of one of rock's greatest innovators, they embodied the spirit of unbridled creativity and authenticity that defines the best of music.